I have seen the host star of this planet peeking between the icy mountains 13 times now. I don't know how many days that is back at home, but it feels like I've been here longer than a month. Calling them days will be an overstatement. The shy little red star barely shows over the horizon, scarcely giving any warmth to this bare snowball the researchers back at the university dare to call a planet. I've been chasing that star for a long time now, traversing the deep, never-treaded snow fields of Exi3. My feet frozen and my muscles aching. It's been a while since I last saw the others. I don't know if they have frozen to death, starved to death, or been eaten by the still undocumented species roaming the planet's mountains. I miss my colleagues. I especially miss my colleague Payu. And just like that fateful night when I lost them, a storm is crawling over the mountains up ahead. Even though I missed my friend, I wouldn't mind missing the deep, ominous growling roar, hearing it far behind me the past few days. Desperately, I've been trying to get away from it. Every day, the thing seems to be the same distance away, if not closer, than the day I first heard it. I would use one of the camp's snowmobiles if the solar flare didn't fry all the electronics. That good-for-nothing star! I would like to run further away from the unknown beast that has been following me for the days on end, but I would waste my energy and most likely freeze to death in exhaustion. The gravity on Exi3 was 7,300 meters per second squared, lower than on Earth, but the conditions felt heavy, if not heavier, due to the unforgiving harsh snowfall. What even is the point? What am I even running towards? It's a never-ending ball of snowy hills with freezing or being eaten as its only liberators. Again, the thing roars behind me through the thick mist that surrounds us. It sounds a bit higher than before, which means it's closer. The storm encapsulates me. How can this creature keep following me? Does it have one of the most sophisticated vision organs I've ever seen? The mists are too thick, not even light can penetrate it, so that it's not possible. Does it smell me? It's rare for animals living in these kinds of environments to have an above-average developed sense of smell, but it is plausible still. Can it sense infrared anyway like the bog-york from Traton? If so, it would experience the same complications with only being able to find fresh prey and not able to feed off cadavers or cold-blooded creatures. At least, that is one of the factors why the bog-york went extinct. Maybe. And this will be the worst-case scenario. Whatever it is that is tracking me for the last few days is smart. Roar! My theory crafting of the creature was cut short by itself. The thick mists made it impossible to trace where the roar came from. I didn't know where it was, nor did I know where to go. I had to guess. I gambled on my right. Oh, I ran as hard as I could. Blindly, I ran through the thrashing storms, scared that I might collide with the thing I was trying so desperately to avoid, clawing away through the bone-chilling, face-freezing storm. I might dry heave out of sheer exhaustion, but even in this deafening storm, I didn't dare make a sound. I had to keep my bodily reflexes under control and suppress them as hard as I could. Then I felt something, even more terrifying than a roar. I felt the foot of the thing land behind me on the ground. It was closer than ever. Yet I still couldn't see it. I stood still, curled up in a ball and didn't move. I was tired. I was so tired. Weeks I've been walking without goal, a marker, or a finish line. No promise of an end to this wretched embodiment of death. I didn't want to move anymore. Even if I wanted to, I didn't think I could. I could feel my body at war with my brain. My body throwing in the towel, while my brain was screaming from the sidelines. I slowly closed my eyes, took in my last deep breath of striking cold air, and curled up into a tinier ball, until I heard the roar again, but this time from much further away. Oh, Did I miss that roar from far away? My eyes shot open, adrenaline shooting through my veins. I pushed myself up and ran from the roar. It could have been the same direction I originally came from, but should you have doubt when you are on a ball with no way out? That last thought sucked the adrenaline right out of my body. My body, again, felt as heavy as stone, but I knew I couldn't give in. With all my strength thrashing through the winds, step by step, no rest. The fog started to change color from blue to white. Abstract shapes started to appear in the all-encompassing white curtain. I was close to a mountain or a cliff. No saying whatever I was heading towards, but I knew whatever I was heading away from was much more sinister. Better to have a harrowing quick fall to my death than a harrowing slow one. In the white mist, I could see a dark dot start to appear, just like those ancient projectors. The black void vibrated and wasn't sharp. As I came closer, a dark circle appeared before me in the white mist. I could hear howling noises from the abyss. Finally, something other than the thrashing winds around me. I stepped into the void and the winds faded. A cave. Shelter. Rest. I dragged my broken body deeper into the cave. I collapsed on cold stone. When closing my eyes, I could see a lonely, out-of-place snowmobile sitting in the corner of the dark blue cavern. Without the strength to open my eyes again, I dreamed of what this snowmobile could grant me. When I woke up, my will to live had re-entered my body. I was jubilant, not only because I get to find out if this snowmobile works or not, but mostly because whatever was out there didn't find me in here. Still, with my bones aching, I made my way towards the snowmobile. Are some of my colleagues here? Is there food? Does the snowmobile work? Was it safe here during the solar flare? Is the radio working? I haven't felt this excited since the time we found those Tingyayes in the planetary forest of Yaye. Me and my fellow Exiiogist spent weeks rummaging through the towering damp jungles, dreaming we would hear a mating call, let alone see a glimpse of one. The heat made us pass out multiple times, and being drenched with sweat and water was the norm. The chances of getting poisoned by plants, turkeys and insects were high, while the chance of the antidote existing for these diseases were null. Death was possible. We accepted it. Which made it all the more worthwhile when we saw those stunning Tingyayes graze the purple grasses of Yaye. Payu was the first to point out how the small yellow Tingyaye could graze so unencumbered in the fields. Yellow being such a rare color in the jungles of Yaye, Payu theorized that it had to be the case of aposematic coloration. And the mad genius was right, as usual. No animal dared to step close to the beast for fear of it being poisonous. Our hypothesis was that it could be a plausible defense mechanism for the species. It had the perfectly yellow color of a 6,000-degree star with the blood and red triangles on its slimy skin. The classic color combination of noxious animals. Back at the university lab, Payu was proven right again when the Tingyaye's blood test came back negative for poison. The warmth of the jungles of Yaye faded when the icy shiver pulled me back to reality. I remembered I was in a dreary cave on a still unnamed snow planet. With my blue hands I turned on the ignition. Nothing. I turned it again, ramming on the gas pedal. Nothing. I checked the cargo space under the seat. Brilliant! A red thermal blanket with the logo of our university. Quava itrox op fanis. Ever in search for knowledge. Not anymore. I am in search of getting off this despicable snow globe. The blanket was nice though. With great excitement, I wrapped myself tightly. My excitement grew even more when I saw the 3 bags of rations hiding snugly under the blanket. There was also a pocket radio in the cargo space. If that actually works, I'm going to faint, I thought. I picked it up and wanted to turn the dial, but I hesitated. I sighed and put the seat back on top of the compact cargo hold. I set the radio on top of the seat and looked at it, staring it into submission. This radio might be my only way out. Without it, I was doomed. If it was broken, how could I fix it? I didn't have any tools. The only tools I have access to are rocks, which I luckily have plentiful. I was thinking of praying to a higher power, something ancient civilizations did or some animals have studied through the years. But to whom or what? I was completely uninstructed in this systematic study, nor was I instructed to survive the snow deserts of unknown planets. I had no god to pray to, only luck. I had nothing to wait for. This thing has to work. It just has to. And as I extended my arm, it felt as if it was made of jelly. My shivering fingers wrapped around the knob. I twisted it. A high tone sang from the small speakers. I swallowed. And after that, a warm cloud of air escaped my mouth. There was hope. I knew the radio wouldn't work in this cave. If electromagnetic radiation from the solar flare can't go through the mountain, neither can radio signals. I would have to climb to the top of the mountain to ensure the radio works optimally. But before that, I will spoil myself with one of those rations. It had already been 2 days since I ate the last of my food supply. While I was huddled up, sporting my institute's red blanket, I was preparing one of the 3 bags. Even though the chemistry isn't groundbreaking, I am still impressed how they came up with it. You just had to rip the CO2 sticker from the back of the pack. The gas, water would liquefy, and then all you had to do is shake it, and the chemicals inside would become red hot, to 100 degrees Celsius, I believe. All while not burning your hand because of the particular encasing. Amazing! The magical packet would cook you a lovely and much-needed stew. I picked Algian chicken from the 3 packets. I actually really enjoy the taste from the water-based chicken breed compared to my missing comrades. My comrades. I sprang up from my almost cozy position and walked to the snowmobile. I reopened the cargo space and looked on the bottom of the seat. The information sticker read, Owner, Payu. Payu! My dear friend escaped the barren, stormy landscape? But where was he? Did I eat his rations? I ventured down the dark cave to find answers to my questions. I wanted to yell his name, but I didn't know what could hear me outside or inside. When walking deeper and deeper, I thought, is it Payu, or did someone else take his scooter? Whoever it was taken by whatever out there is. I tried searching further in the cave, but I just met stones and rocks. Sadly, no sign of my beloved colleague. There was no time to lose. I have to send my help signal with the radio, and have only enough food to survive 2 to 3 days. That could be just enough for the rescue team to pick me up. I strapped myself in my red incandescent blanket and was ready to face the harsh tundra again. Luckily, the endless storm that terrorized the planet was not on my side of the hemisphere at this point in time. When I was about to step outside the cave, I realized something. With my newfound red cape, I stick out as a bloody ripped-out tooth between white teeth. Whatever that thing was that has been hunting and haunting me the last days can see me from a mile away. But again, this is the first time I don't feel like I will lose fingers or toes to frostbite. After some thought, I decided to go into the wide expanse with my trusty red cloak. The storm was absent, but the winds had stayed raw and cold, my face being punctured by millions minuscule needles of uncomfortableness. I'm venturing up the mountain which I dubbed Payu in remembrance of my lost friend. And as I looked over the mountainous region, I could see only snow and blue-grey stone. It could be deserted from any living organism, or it could be booming with life. Plausible, but unlikely. The only empirical evidence we gathered in our short-lived research at the station was that of only a few white 6-footed rabbit-like animals with purple eyes. 2 in front and 2 in the back of his head. We locked the small critters in cages. We were planning to do tests on them. How can they see? Are they intelligent? And what do they eat? Were questions the entire team had. I remember Payu being especially interested in what the creature's diet was because food was scarce. But when the solar flare hit the planet and contaminated the electrical systems, all the systems failed. The 3 hairy living things we found on this snowball, besides rocks and stones, escaped. And with the electricity shutting down, all of us were blind and freezing. And the planet would turn our cozy research station into an improvised freezer. That was when the roaring started. With the laser fence mechanism fried, and animals being curious what this metal-blocked peculiar cave was, we knew it was just a question of when the roaring animal made its way into the building. It had become a dark and freezing death trap. I found it so frustratingly coincidental that when that solar flare wreaked havoc on the globe, the same time the unknown beast showed its presence in the way of blusterous shout. I didn't want to find out how the two were correlated, and neither did my team. As all of us were packing and preparing our bags for the journey, to search for a safe cave to sit out till help would eventually come, a scream sounded, and with none of the ventilation, heating system, laser fence to obscure the sound, the scream rushed all the way from the other side of the station. "It's here! It's barged through the door!" one of my unfortunate colleagues screamed. In the darkness, outside my door, I saw professional adventurers guiding us through our research run towards the noise, while the scientists like myself ran away from it. "Help!" an adult screamed. I stood, frozen in my room, calculating what I needed to do. "We need to evacuate," instructed a female voice, which had to come from Cici. That made my decision easier. I picked up my bag, strapped on my coat, and ran away from the commotion. I could hear glass shatter and metal walls bending or even breaking. Screaming, male and female, filled the hallways. I knew retaliation would be impossible with our recently useless electro-charged weapons. But who was I to make them feel repent for their bravery? While the beast was thrashing, roaring, and terrorizing its way through the station, I exited on the other side. With darkness around me and storm to follow it, I ran into the station's yard. I traced fresh snowmobile tracks from the inner garages of the station to a black dot in the far distance. "A working snowmobile!" I was jubilant, but this didn't last long when I realized I wasn't the one escaping with it. Only now do I realize it was Payu who fled and had hidden the miracle of a working snowmobile for himself. The egotistical bastard. He was my best friend. How could he have done this to me? As I stood hopeless in the snow yard, I could hear the tearing of metal and people from inside. Instinctively and instantaneously, I ran after the soaring snowmobile, never to see my colleagues again. I finally made it to the top of the mountain, which I now dub Mount Coward, in memory of my cowardly friend. The winds were cold, but fair. While having to fill my exhausted lungs with cool air, I had a chance to appreciate the landscape. All shades of white and blue danced between the clouds as far as my eyes could see, clouds climbing and falling over the side of the mountains as waterfalls. The contrasting shy red star peeking through the planet's crown of mountains. The freezing hellhole was starting to become beautiful, in a way. When I caught my breath, I immediately planted my ticket home into the ground. Still, with great terror running through my veins, I turned the dial, fearing it wouldn't function. But it did! All I could hear was a high tone with white noise and the windy planet's whisper. "This is Trias McRiver, Exiiogist from Water University. I'm stranded on the snowy tundra planet XI30244315. I repeat, I'm stranded on the snowy tundra planet XI30244315. I will be at the Water Planet Research Station in 2 days. Send help quick. I'm devoid of resources and food." I sat beside the radio, waiting for a response. Just more uncertain rustling from the machine. "I repeat, I'm stranded on the snowy tundra planet XI30244315. Please, help!" I sat beside it, curled up in my bright red cloak. thinking about how long the battery would persist. At that moment, the unknown, the thing that's been chasing me, filling the planet's atmosphere with its roars, showed its face to me. Its white hairy head was just over the edge, and the beast was climbing up to me. I was frozen in my position. How did it find me? Did he hear me? Impossible, I scoffed. Was it the radio? No time for thinking. A gaping mouth with black teeth roared at me, a purple tongue licking between every single tooth. Its pupilless blue eyes positioned under his head, staring at me. It was big enough that it could easily swallow me whole if it liked. I did not know what to do, where to go. The only thing I remembered was that I haven't moved a single inch in my red fluorescent robe. But that's it! Apocementism! The beast set its fat foot, armed with sharp claws, on the top of the peak, and we stood face to face. The beast, charging me with all its muscle, rushed at me with the power of a comet, its mouth roaring and its claws spreading. Batesian mimicry can't let me down now. When the beast was 10 feet in front of me, its mouth closed. Its claws shot into the ground in front of itself, making it come to a grinding halt. The sheer air thrust that came over me was enough to blow me away, but I couldn't move an inch. Standing on all 6 of its feet, the beast looked at me with its opaque eyes, in which I could see my own reflection. The heat coming from its mouth fell down over me. I could see its blue eyes inspect my fiery red cloak. I tried to breathe slowly, but my chest gave away my stress. The beast roared inches away from my face. A high tone shot in my ears, and it was the only thing I could hear. Before I knew it, I was thrown aside on my side by the stupendously strong claws. My ribs hurt, and all I wanted to do is stay down. But I couldn't. I had to stand up. Quick! The beast clawed to me, towering over me. I stood up as fast as I could, pain shooting through my entire torso. I couldn't give an inch. I looked up at it. I decided to stand up. I was closer to its mouth than any living creature ever before. Close enough that I could touch one of its obsidian black teeth with ease. But before I knew it, the creature took a step back. I don't know if this beast could experience emotions, but if I had to guess, it was furious. It looked at me and I looked at it. Winds blowing between us with neither of us moving, as if we were just 2 massive mountains. The beast turned around, as if it was never interested in me. The big claws landing on the stones was still terrifyingly thrilling, but I couldn't let it know, nor could I let it be known that I was relieved. When the beast was fully turned around, it revealed a giant transparent sack was strapped to its back. It was made of a wall of plasma membrane, which looked like a single layer of animal cells. Its purple veins correlated between the skin sac. It was even more horrifying than the beast looked from the front. My stomach turned when I saw what it was behind the thin layer of membrane. Inside the skin bag was Payu, molten with the inner flesh of the beast. The purple flesh wall inside had almost fully digested my dear friend. And I don't know if I dare to remember this correctly, but I could see Payu's eyes looking at me, filled with despair and anguish.